3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is our Mando-Monday reaction and analysis, and today we will be discussing Chapter 15, The Believer, to which, by the way, Husbando immediately replied, if there's a Justin Bieber song, I'm done.
He must be a Justin Bieber fan to begin with, because I did not even I didn't even make that connection. Oh, wow.
So we're just calling him an extra loser now for
Oh,
knowing that.
no, not loser. He's like the fifth Beatle. He's like the fourth Triad member.
Yeah.
So he's not a full loser, but the fact that he made that Bieber connection, I don't know. I'm a little concerned.
Oh man. Okay, so first impressions, guys.
I have mixed feelings. I mean, I enjoyed the episode. I think it was a good episode, but I think the more I think about it, the less I like it collectively as Mando's story. But as a standalone, Star Wars content, I think it was a solid episode.
I thought we saw at least one of the best actings that we've seen in Mando in a while.
Yeah.
Given the fact that a lot of Mandalorian characters wear helmet, it's a little bit hard sometimes to translate emotions, and so I have to say I enjoyed the acting scenes. I don't think it's, as kind of like Gus says, it didn't push the story that much forward. It felt very Star Warsy in a lot of sense, but at the same time, it felt like it lacked what was making the Mandalorian, as if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I actually disagree with you guys. I've been reading a lot that people are calling it a filler and stuff, and I thought it was fantastic. I wasn't expecting anything like this, because remember, I was like really upset. I thought it was just going to be a prison break, and we got way more than that. And second, there was a lot of going forward. I mean, this is the first time that Din removes the helmet.
Yeah.
That entire conversation.
Yes.
We'll get into it, but I mean, it does a lot to the story too. That whole conversation that he has with Mayfeld makes him question the way again. It's like he's poking fun of how strict he is, that entire conversation. So I think there's a lot going on in this episode that does move the story forward and makes Din's character grow. So
I agree.
That was my first.
I think it's a complicated episode because of what you just said. I think there are things that definitely happen in terms of like that character development for Din, but they're not happening to him. And I think that's one of the issues overall of the season, at least for me. I don't know if you guys will agree, but like I think everything that's growth in terms of who he will be or who he is happens through other characters and doesn't happen to him, if that makes sense. Okay. Like all the other characters are the ones that are going through those beats, and obviously they'll inform what he's going through, but like he's in a way, even though he's still the main character of the show, and I appreciate that they haven't let Boba take over it, it still feels like he is secondary in a way in his own show, even though he's the lead, because his story beats are secondary to someone else's.
And it's interesting because the elements were there, you're right, but you never see it's not a question that comes from Mando, like, oh, I've seen this happening. Okay, now it's almost like it's always somebody or either poking fun at it or just like tarnishing a little bit down, kind of like, wait, what are your boundaries? I see how it sort of played into that scene where at the end, Bill is like, I don't remember his name, but Bill Burr just pretty much
Bill Burr, apparently everyone likes, but I never liked him. But we'll get to that.
We'll get there. Where kind of at the end, it's like, oh, I never saw your face. Like, it's okay. Like, but you just, I mean, that could be the whole aspect of this season, where you can see somebody that has no idea where they're going, they're just acquiring information. Like
Mm-hmm.
all their life, they've been told, okay, this is the armory way, this is the way, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have like 100 different pathways, so you're just taking them all in, and then eventually decide which one to embark on.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems a little bit lackluster. Like it's not like even this whole thing, he's still going after Grogu, but you don't see that emotion that this whole mission is based on, that on a rescue.
Oh, I think it does. Again, I disagree. But anyway, before we
Hey.
keep deep diving, let's just run through the episode.
Go through
okay?
the episode.
Go.
So we basically pick up the episode where we left off last time. Last time, Mando goes to Cara Dune to tell him that they need to break out Mayfield from whatever prison he's in. So that's where the episode starts. The camera shows up and we see like a droid walking towards someone. And when we see the droid, it's basically the security droid from last chapter 6 from the New Republic. And apparently they are in the Carthan shop fields. And Mayfield is a prisoner there who is doing hard labor. And what type of hard labor? They are breaking down old Imperial ships, which will make sense mythically when we see what Mayfield's character contributes in the rest of the story. The droid tells Mayfield that someone is here to give him a new assignment. And who is it? Lo and behold, Cara Dune is here. She's remanding the prisoner and taking custody of him so that they can, go and do their mission. When he goes up to the ship with Kara, they're in the Slave One, obviously, and who comes down? Bam! Boba Fett rocking some new paint,
Brand new.
like he's like, I don't know how long that uh, trip took from Navarro to the top fields, but Boba was ready. He's like, no, I'm getting my armor. He probably stopped at like a Home Depot or something to get some metallic paints. Because he's like, I'm getting my armor back, and I'm gonna, I gotta pimp it out. Because it's been a couple of decades since I repainted it. And awesome new paint job. Although it was jarring at first, it was very jarring. I don't know about you guys, because I'm always
I
used
thought
to
I
seeing
was
the
like,
ship.
I was like, wow, that's a beautiful. Like I love the matte green.
Yes, the
matte look to it. Yeah.
Like
No,
it was like,
and you can tell that he had been practicing because like the paint didn't clump up. There weren't like streaks in it. It was like beautifully, perfectly painted.
beautiful.
So kudos, Boba Fett, not just the best bounty hunter, but apparently also a pretty damn good painter.
It says
anyway,
Sabine has to watch out.
Sabine has to watch out. Yes, you're gonna have a paint off soon. But then Mayfield does that comment like, "Oh, I thought you were someone else," and then all of a sudden, that's when Mando shows up, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Speed things up. Mando tells Mayfield that the mission is to go to, I think it was Morak, to go into the Imperial facility so they can get the codes
location
so they can find Gideon's destroyer. Well, it's not a Star Destroyer, but Gideon's ship.
Mm-hmm.
They go there, and when they go there, it's a lush forest with palm trees, very Scarif-like, but kind of reminded me a little bit of Puerto Rico. A little bit. You go to the mountains, the jungle. I was like, good job. Which actually I kind of appreciated that they. And if they didn't do this, I'll be blown away with the volume because it seemed like they were on location for a lot of it because of the the jungle fields around it. And if they weren't on location, holy shit, the volume is the best piece of technology.
Well, I'm sure they used that Jumbotron weird thing they got going on.
Yeah. So. When they get to Morak, Mayfield says that they need to go to the Imperial facility to get the thing, but they need to go to a machine that has the information. But that machine will scan your face so they can know that you're not wanted by the ISB or you're not a droid. There's some nitpicks we can do from that, but whatever. That's how the plot was set up. So Cara Dune can't go because obviously she's New Republic and Rebellion, so the ISB has files on her. Fennec Shand can't go because she's also in the ISB files. Boba Fett obviously can't go because he has the most recognizable face in the
galaxy. It looks too.
I know that he says it like really offhand too. It's like, my face is recognizable.
Yeah. But you don't get like, it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Your face is really recognizable.
Because your face was a billion times over in the galaxy. And Mando agrees to go, even though I don't think he understood that by him agreeing to go, that he would have to do the thing that he does eventually. They get on a Juggernaut that we've seen before, not this version, but we've seen Juggernauts before in Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. But now we see a cargo Juggernaut that I must say, like the CGI for it was just amazing. It felt like a real
Yeah.
Yeah.
car, because like the physics of it, of when it stopped and started moving and everything, I was like, wow, this feels
It's
real.
like a
Uh,
caterpillar. Loved it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then they have to transport when they take the when they get into the Juggernaut. Mando has to switch out uniform so that they can blend in, and he, instead of being in his Mando uniform, he's now an Imperial tank trooper, whatever driver uniform, uh, because he still has to hide his face. While they're driving, then Mando and Mayfield start having a conversation, even though it's mostly Mayfield having a monologue, where he's kind of questioning two things mainly. Like, one, the role of who is in power, right? And in this case, it would be New Republic versus
Mhm.
Empire. And two, the rules that one sets for themselves. And in this case, it's the helmet rule, right? Is it,
Mhm.
are you, can you show your face, or do you have to be in the Mando helmet? Because they're two different things, right?
Mhm.
So that's the discussion they have. While they're going to transport the Rhydonium, they go through a village and they see these people there. And like Mando sees the one kid who's wearing a scarf. Apparently, this is the year for scarves in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And start questioning what it means to, be one of those oppressed. Because, Mando is also a foundling. Like, that child
Mhm.
is an abandoned child, like Mando used to be. uh, while they're approaching the factory, there were some explosions from the Rhydonium, and what happens? Some people in these speeders or skiff boats or whatever you call them are attacking them. And at first, we think they're pirates, but then we realize that they're really not pirates. They seem to be locals who just want to destroy the
Make sure.
Rhydonium so they can get rid of the Imperial presence there. And we'll get
Yeah.
to that in the discussion, because that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Uh, so Mando has to kind of fight them off so they can continue, and get into the Imperial facility. But fighting them off means basically killing every single one of them.
Yep.
But it's an interesting fight for Mando, because he starts fighting the way that he would fight originally, with his Beskar armor. But this
Yeah.
is crappy armor that just starts breaking off. So he's kind of like, just quickly
Has to
realizes that he
adjust.
has to adjust exactly and modify his fight and his approach to it to compensate for that, which is, obviously
It was.
in fight form,
Mhm.
a metaphor for what he has to go through in the next piece of the episode.
Mhm.
But fast forward, because it's taking a long time. As they're approaching, there's more liberators, as I'm calling them now, that are gonna, show up and destroy them. And Mando at this point is exhausted. But then, lo and behold, two TIE fighters show up and save the day. Never thought I would say that, unless you're, Imperial stand. They destroy the liberators, and Mando and Mayfield are able to safely return to the Imperial base. And when they get to the Imperial base, they're greeted as heroes. So now we get to see the human side of the Empire, because it's not just, the Emperor and Darth Vader. There's just
Yeah.
normal people that are just doing their jobs and are,
Mhm.
just happy to see their coworkers not die. And I totally sympathize with non-dying coworkers,
Yeah.
especially in
No,
COVID times.
and they actually, I mean, as soon as that scene happens with the TIE fighters and everything, it cues like this heroic music and everything
Yeah.
too. So it's like,
Mhm.
you see this other side to the Empire, obviously. I remember when the TIE fighters first showed up, I was like, yes. And Josbando was like, oh no. And then it's like, oh, wait, they're the bad guys
Yep.
for like these next 5 minutes. So okay, they're good guys for 5 minutes. Awesome.
Yep.
So it's cool to see, everything is different from a certain point of view.
From
So
a certain point of view, Obi-Wan. It's amazing how you can take a BS line and just turn it into, oh, but this is the whole
Philosophy.
the philosophy. Yeah.
yeah.
But when they're there, Mayfield goes into the mess hall where the machine that they need to get the codes are at. And when he goes there, who does he run into but Balin Hess, who used to be his supervising officer or commanding officer when he was in the Empire. And fun fact, Balin Hess was played by Richard Brake, who was two prominent roles: Joe Chill in Batman Begins, and also he played the first Night King in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So there you go. That was a fun.
From among a bunch of things he's done. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
He's been in a bunch of stuff. So he can't do that because he's afraid that he'll get recognized. So Mando's just like, hey, man, I gotta get my kid, which is the point that they keep saying the whole episode. It's not just the child or the asset or anything. It's the kid. It's Mando's kid. They
Oh, and
finally
they say
acknowledge
that a
that
lot.
parental.
His
Yep,
kid. Yeah. I love that
they
actually.
acknowledge that parental relationship.
Hmm.
And Mando's just like, okay, I'll go. He goes to the machine, but doesn't take out his helmet, which is surprising because like Mayfield, Mando was not.
Explicitly.
He was not. He's not the smartest cookie in this episode.
Nope.
Eh, Mayfield tells him like, "Hey, you need to scan your face." So, so the fact that he didn't take off his helmet to begin with was mind boggling. But whatever, he gets stressed because the machine star looks like it's gonna explode, and then he does the unthinkable and he takes off the helmet, and the machine is able to scan his face, and he gets the codes. But what happens after he does that? Valen Hess like calls him over, and you can see this. One of the things that was the best thing for me from the episode is Pedro Pascal's acting because he basically does not really speak in this next
At
scene,
all.
But it's so great.
but his body language is just fantastic because you can see how he's kind of portraying someone that has never had to show their emotions and
Yep.
Yep.
interact with someone and see them directly in the eye. And Mando's like out of his element. He's afraid. He doesn't know how to react. Doesn't know what he's doing. And Mayfield comes to his rescue, and it's like, hey, no, he's lost his hearing in Tanab,
Yeah.
and we call him Brown Eyes.
It was really quick thinking. That was good.
Yeah. So they sit down, they have a drink with Valen Hess, and during that, it's kind of very. I've heard a lot of people say have this comparison, and I must say I agree with it. It's very reminiscent of Inglorious Bastards, the bar scene, is
Yeah.
because it's very tense,
Yeah.
because everyone's kind of like feeling each other up to see what what's going on. And then there's an interesting conversation with Mayfield and Valen Hess, where Mayfield, sorry, says that, oh, let's toast to Operation Cinder.
Cinder.
And for those who don't know, Operation Cinder is one of the contingencies that Emperor Palpatine put in place in case of his demise, where if he were to perish, it would ensure that the Empire would not outlive him. So it basically went into certain key worlds of the Empire and would destroy them, one of them being Naboo. And we can see a lot of this in Battlefront 2. So if you haven't played that game, you should. It's really fun. And the story mode is fantastic. Um, and we learned that Mayfield was part of Operation Cinder. And that's one of the things that made him question his position in the Empire. And after lots of back and forth about what it means to be an Imperial and what the Empire is willing to sacrifice for the greater good or for order, Mayfield makes a decision. He's had enough. He can't take it anymore. Bam!
Man.
Shoots Valen Hess dead. Obviously, that creates some problems for their escape plan. Technical glitches, and all of a sudden they have to get out. They escape out the window. They're going up. Cara Dune and Fennec Shan are helping them out by scoping out motherfuckers left and right from outside with their sniper rifles. And all of a sudden, uh, they make it up. The Slave One shows up. They get on the Slave One, and as they're flying away, Mayfield asks for Boba Fett's not armor. Sorry, rifle. The rifle of the Tusken Raiders. I forget what it was called, and he blows up the facility to kind of be able to sleep at night. Sleep at night, as he puts it. As the Slave One is flying away, two TIE fighters who may or may not be the same TIE
Same
fighters that
ones.
saved them before are pursuing the Slave One. And the thing that I was hoping for would happen happened.
Ooh.
Boba Fett unleashes a seismic charge. And we get to see that awesome sound effect and awesome effect from Attack of the Clones and just obliterates the TIE fighters.
It was so exciting when that happened.
It was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
After that, everyone reunites. Cara Dune, impressed by Mayfield's antics and actions against the Empire, lets him go. And then we switch back to the bridge of Moff Gideon's ship, and all of a sudden, our favorite comms officer, who is unnamed, that Pink Milk and Katana cast, our friends, have interviewed her. I forgot her name, Katie. Forgot her name. She comes in to Moff Gideon, tells him, "We have a message for you." And lo and behold, that message is Mando. in his Taken speech, which is basically the speech from I think
Taken
episode.
speech.
I think he's basically saying verbatim the speech that Moff Gideon said in episode 7 or 8. I forgot which episode it was, but it's basically word for word saying that you do not know how much he means to me, which is a change from how Moff Gideon said it, because Moff Gideon said it means to
It.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Mando humanizes him. So he means to me, and basically saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna go all Liam Neeson on your ass. We're coming to get you," and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whew.
Oh my god!
Take a
You did it,
breather.
Goose. Breathe.
It's hard to keep it brief. It's like it's interesting because they're like short, quote unquote, episodes, but so much happens.
So
They're
much
packed.
happens.
They're packed. There's
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're very good.
even as you were like recapping, there were scenes that I thought were important, and then by the end of the episode, you forget about them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
so much has happened.
Yeah.
And I like that because I remember clearly seeing when you mentioned the scene with the kid with the scarf.
Mhm.
I was immediately like, this is great. They're kind of like throwing it back to that DJ character in The Last Jedi. Like, hey,
Mm,
New Republic, First Order, you
Yeah.
know, it's so from you already now have that from the probably the 1%er point of view, it doesn't matter who's in power.
Yeah.
And the same thing
yeah.
happens to the 90% that's surviving on their day to day on their own
Mhm.
planets with doesn't matter who's in power. Like
Mhm.
we're still suffering deep whatever you're going through. So I love that they brought that, and then by the end of the episode you kind of forget about it because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
think that's a good point. But
Mhm.
sorry, Nani, what were you saying?
No, it's fine. Keep going.
No, I think que that's an interesting thing that you're mentioning, Mo. But for me, it's the double-edged sword of this episode because it's one of the things that I appreciated, but also didn't appreciate because it's something that we've seen through the rest of the season. Because, for example, in episode 1 of this season, we see that humanization of the Tuscans, right?
Yeah.
But as the season has progressed, we kind of see them falling
Yeah,
back into
that
that
evolved.
trope of the aliens are
Yeah.
bad guys and disposable. And I think that was kind of what disappointed me a little bit about this episode in a ways. They make that point to talk about the marginalized and talk about
Mhm.
colonialism and all that stuff. And obviously, I know for you guys, but being Puerto Rican, for me, that whole topic of colonialism is a big deal. So, like, how it's represented is always important to me. And, like, seeing that they were showing that the humans that were colonized are victims, but then seeing the aliens who are just trying to also because they're locals, they're not pirates trying to steal
Yeah,
Rhydonium.
no, they're
They're
not.
also locals trying to get rid of the Empire, but then we just are killing them without any consequence. Like Mando doesn't have any moment where he's like, "Oh wait, I mean, I know we have to do this other thing, but there's no consequence and no uh, struggle with just killing these locals that are also being oppressed."
Yeah,
And the fact that they chose to represent the ones that we're killing as aliens, as an
Yeah.
other,
Mhm.
and make the humans the ones that we're sympathizing with. For me, it's like there's a cognitive dissonance
yeah.
right there. So it dilutes the message of colonialism bad
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're just
And
like, oh,
especially when then you have a whole scene that specially
Hmm.
talks about the death of innocent people. That there's
mm,
such an emphasis on, you know, am I willing to do all of this? And then you just had a whole scene where you killed like over 30 people because
mhm,
from my count, at least each of those things had like 5 to 10 people.
yeah,
So, and that there were four. So after probably going decimating a whole village
mhm,
worth of people, then you have the whole speech of like, oh, I'm so mad that, you made me go through this, but I did the same to survive. It does rub off a little bit. There's a lot of hypocrisy,
mhm,
and
mhm,
it goes back to, are we just cheering for the ones that look like us instead
yeah,
of
absolutely.
Yeah, well, I hadn't really noticed it that way. So eyes open. But I just, it all seemed to me, and how you were saying, I'm not sure if it was Gus or Moro who said it, that everything is like happening to Mando, but I don't really think that's the way to see it, because when he first decides to put on the stormtrooper armor, that was his decision. It happened to him. He could have decide to trust Mayfeld and just let him do his thing. He didn't have to be actively participating, but he decided to, because the child is that important to him. So he actually discarded his armor for the first time in probably his life and put something else on. And it's, a stormtrooper outfit, and everybody's reaction was pretty strong. I mean, that wasn't an easy decision to make. Even if he has the helmet on at the beginning, it's still a completely different armor, because the Beskar armor for him is like part of who he is.
Yeah.
And then you can see that when he's fighting, that he immediately, goes back on his instincts, trying to use the armor to block, and obviously it's stormtrooper armor, and it just disintegrates into nothing.
Just blows away.
Oh yeah. No, and I thought they were gonna push it deeper with that, because there was the one scene where he's like lying down and they're trying to take off the helmet.
Yeah.
So I thought there would be something like that, where they were gonna chip off the armor progressively, and like maybe the helmet would break or something. You would see part of his face. No, but I agree with you. I think that Mando has those moments, but I think that they're, especially in this episode, overshadowed by Mayfield's moments. Because like Mayfield has like the big arc of like his transformation and his speeches, and he's the one that's talking. And Mando is, he is going through things. I don't disagree, and I think that what they do with Mando is pretty clever in how they do it. But it ends up being kind of like secondary to the main protagonist of the episode, which was Mayfield, which is why I have kind of an issue with this season, even though I've enjoyed it. Just because I have an issue doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. Which is that this is the cameo season, and it's like everyone that's on screen with Mando shines more than Mando.
This episode felt like Mando was the main character to me. Again, like the last episode and this one has felt to me like Mando is the main character. But I mean, maybe that was the theme of this season, that they kind of introduce him to a whole bunch of people and have him slowly take in what they're trying to teach him, or their points of view. Because I think that's Mayfeld's main point, is that Mando doesn't really know who he is. He's like, you're a survivor, because clearly when things start to get desperate, your rules start going out the window. Yeah. So Mando, one season ago, would rather die than take off his helmet. And now you see him first remove his armor to wear a stormtrooper armor, and then does reveal his face. And when you do it, you can see his face is like,
oh, he was not comfortable.
Who am I?
And even his body language, you can tell that like he
was so uncomfortable.
He doesn't have peripheral vision, so he just like moves his whole head
to
like look at people and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I do appreciate that they were able to show that of Mando in a subtle way, right? It's not beating you over the head with him having to tell you those things. Like visually, he's able to express that. So like I do appreciate visual storytelling for sure.
I think that's like that's why I think that this was a great episode as a story. And the way it was filmed, that whole scene where they're just sitting there, and you have great acting. You have somebody that probably just has no idea what to do with their face, because all the time they're covered up, and they're probably just acting that way when they're there. We just don't notice it. And then you have somebody that you so much sympathize. It's like the more they're talking about, I cannot sleep at night because of everything that I've been through. Because I did this. Like, I think that's the difference. Like, maybe why I like that Mayfield character, because they are aware of their transgressions. They never deny, I wasn't involved in it, or they tried to, I did this what can I do now to be able to sleep better at night?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and you finally you see a satisfying redemption arc for a
Mhm.
character.
Hmm.
Uh, Although I felt like at the end they should have been like, hey, do you just want to join the team? We clearly make a great team. Like why not join the family? It's already beginning like this ragged outcast getting together.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
clearly,
he might come back.
yeah.
I
I feel
wouldn't
yeah.
put
I
it
mean,
past him,
he
even though I'm
survived.
not even though I'm not a fan of Bill
Yeah.
Burr, but we
Yeah.
can get to that if we want later.
Yeah.
But that's why I think the title is interesting, and it kind of piggybacks to what you were saying, Mo. I mean, the believer. It's the episode plays with three different angles in a way that makes me question who is the believer that the title refers to. Because you can make an argument that Cara Dune is the believer, that Mayfield's the believer, or that
Yeah.
Mando's the believer. Because like each one of them like have like a moment where they start to shift their thought and their feelings towards a
Hmm.
one thing and start shifting towards the other way, which I think is one of the interesting things of that title. It kind of makes you wonder who it is, even though probably Mayfield, but it's still flexible enough that you can
It is
Yeah.
flexible. Yeah.
question that.
Well, they can, and in a sense, they're all believers. Like
Mhm.
they have to trust that. So for the ones that are outside, they have to trust that somehow these two people, there's someone gonna make it alive and
Mhm.
make it past an imperial base without their typical gear, because they're not going in with the escape was the other way. They were armed to the teeth. They just came in. We're gonna
Mhm.
barge in, destroy everything. Now, no, you have somebody that has no, apart from a blaster and a very crappy shield, as we see, has nothing else. And then you get to see all of them kind of placing their faith on the other, like the scenes when you see Cartoon and I forget her name,
Fennec.
Fennec Shan.
Fennec Shan, waiting outside, and they're
Yeah.
like, you almost see them like when they come out, it's like almost like proud, like they're like, oh, our kids
Mhm.
came back, like
Yeah.
it felt like that, like
Yeah. And
oh,
immediately
like
have their backs.
yeah,
You know?
we got
Yeah.
your back, like, uh, and then Boba like just came in perfectly at the right time to pick them up. It wasn't like there's nothing like it seemed very, they all trusted each other
Mhm.
as if so in a way that could be it. They're all believing in each other, and but who is the true believer? That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that scene, it felt very Mando as well, because when they're fighting on the dam, they actually use the theme song,
Mhm.
which usually they keep to like little seconds or maybe at the end of the episode. So it was really cool to see it as the background music to the fight scene. So I thought
Mhm.
that was really exciting. And then obviously when uh the Slave One shows up, I can't get over how awesome they've done the Slave One, and to see it flying is just something else. And then when
I
you see
wonder
the
if he's
two
gonna repaint that too.
and then when you see those two TIE
Season
fighters,
three, season three.
season
Season
three,
3, yeah.
when you see those two TIE fighters, you feel like so sorry for them. It's like, dude, Obi-Wan wasn't able to take down his ship. Do you really think two TIE fighters are going to be able to do it? And then you see the seismic charge, and it's just like,
I mean,
ah,
I thought they would have like a space battle. Frankly, I thought, and he would use it in
okay.
space. But the fact that it happened at all, it was like so good. Especially because again, you've only seen Slave One under Django
Yeah.
use the seismic charge. So the fact that it was Boba using, amazing. I didn't really think, even though I was hoping for it, but I didn't really 100% sure think that we would get to listen to that beautiful sound
It's
of
so
the
good.
seismic charge.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's fantastic.
as I've said, as everyone that listens probably knows, I am not a big Attack of the Clones fan, but I will defend the seismic charge scene forever and ever because it was just so awesome.
It's so good. It is so good. Um,
The lack of sound, and then
And then
ugh.
and it's cool because like you can use it. I don't know if you guys have played Battlefront 2, but one of the hero ships is the Slave One, and obviously one of the special attacks you can use is the seismic charge. So to be able to having used it in the video game, and it's cool in video game, but there's so much other stuff going on that you
Yeah.
can't like appreciate the sound effect as awesome as you can like in film and
Yeah.
TV, and to see, oh yeah, just perfect and perfect timing. You got both at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like I love like how Boba was like, oh, we got company, but they didn't really
got this.
like. I got
Yeah,
this.
it's like chill. Yeah.
like like I'm just telling you this just in case, like you
Yeah.
Just
haven't
in case,
noticed.
exactly.
Like,
I don't
Just so
want
you
to
guys
learn.
are aware.
yeah, just so you're aware.
I still can't get over the repainted armor.
I thought it was
Um,
I thought it was beautiful.
When I first saw it, I was
No,
like,
and then-
that is
and
so cool. But then
Yeah.
I
And then you
thought,
see that he also changed the under
Yeah.
armor thing he had from the kind of beige thing to just black
black all
underneath.
through, he looked
Oh.
incredibly badass.
Yes.
For a second, I thought that I liked how the beat up way it looked better. But then thinking about it, it's like he's repurposing it.
Yes.
Like, this is mine. I'm repainting it. I am a different person now, and now this is a new suit. And obviously it looked great. I like you said, the matte look of it was just fantastic. And he didn't buff out the bullet
No.
dent.
The
He
bullet.
left it, which is
Just
like
maybe he
there.
keeping.
he tried, but he couldn't.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I think it's kind of a. I'm
It's his
accepting the
Beskar, right?
history of it. I'm accepting the history of it, but making it better because I am better now. And for those of you who haven't heard our analysis of Boba Fett, listen to the other episode because we have a lot to say about Boba Fett too. But
Yeah. Reggie
I think-
Rebellion liked it, so if he liked it, and he's a big Boba Fett fan, everyone else is gonna like
Everyone.
So, but I think there was a lot of good things about the episode because you felt a lot of tension in a lot of the places.
Yeah.
Like the way the score was used and the acting and the action scenes. I mean, it felt like things were actually happening. That, I mean, a lot of the episodes this season have been a little lackluster and that you don't have much of a sense of danger or anything like that. But there was a lot of it in this one. So it was really exciting, I think.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
like I think it was like from beginning to end, you were just like, oh, like things are just happening.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like you get like an ups and downs because even that episode with the tragedy, you got like ups and downs, and it was action packed. This one you're just like, whoa, like what's happening?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah, it has a little bit of everything. I mean, the fight on the Juggernaut is like very Western, like runaway train kind of
Yeah.
look to it, which
Yes.
I thought was really well shot. Sorry for the implications of what actually happened now that you guys have opened my eyes, but still, it's
no.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like strictly speaking, it's it looks a cool looking scene, and it does
No, yeah,
develop
absolutely.
the character. It just
There were no real people that were killed, so it's
Harmed.
it's still entertainment.
yes.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
but the consequences of that entertainment, the ramifications.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
yeah. It's more of like what, and again, this is probably something that maybe I don't know, 90% of people wouldn't have even picked up.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that it's one of those subconscious things of like how you show things. Because
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
if you had shown that first scene when they're going through that little town and the town had been mixed, right? Of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
humans
Mixed
and those
races or
aliens.
something.
It
Mhm.
wasn't. It
And
wasn't.
then-
It was just.
And then
just
it was
people.
just humans, yeah. And
Just
those are the
humans.
ones that we feel good for because bad for because it's like, oh, the poor colonial people that are poor people that are suffering the colonialism. They look like us, so we have to care about them. But then, like all of the people that were being
Yeah.
killed were all aliens. They weren't mixed with humans either. It's
Yeah.
all aliens, and then we're like,
and they made
okay
it
with
seem
killing
like
them.
they were like, because obviously they call them pirates at first, but when you see that they're trying to detonate, you know that
Yeah.
they're not. So they're freedom fighters, and you would
Mhm.
think that more of the locals would have been involved. So it would have been really cool to see like human-looking people with aliens, with maybe even a different mix,
Yeah.
because they were willing to die. I mean, at the very end, they're basically kamikazing it. I mean, all of them
Yep,
have
yep.
detonators in their hands, and they're just going for it. So
I mean, if we were looking at the story from another point of view, they would just be the
They would be the
heroes of the
heroes.
rebellion.
they would have been the rebels, yeah.
They would have been the Bothans.
Oh, they
Many
are,
Bothans
they
died
are,
against
they
them,
are the rebels.
basically.
Yeah.
So they are. So
That
it's
again,
and,
nonsense.
and I understand the framing of it, right? We have to see it from Manzo's perspective, but again, context is important, and how you
Yeah.
show things and frame
Yeah.
things and represent things is also important. but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it was not a very entertaining episode, and I'm willing
Yeah.
to
but
accept it. I'm not gonna
I'm
we're not gonna cancel Mandalorian. No.
oh
No.
no,
No.
and I think it gives a little bit of credence to what you were saying, Nani, that this whole season is about showing Mando different ways,
Mm-hmm.
because what Mayfield shows, it's the moral relativism way. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do what you have to do, but make sure that your conscience is clear at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the armor, which is just follow this path. This
Mm-hmm.
has already been established. Bo-Katan has like this a whole different path.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even know, and Ahsoka has a different path. So so this might just be Mando taking the back seat because he doesn't know anything else apart from what he had grown,
Mm-hmm.
and just taking the best of each of these new philosophies
Yeah.
and making. So I can
His
see
own.
that.
Yeah.
I'm still. I'm still with Goose that these are things that are happening to Mando, and
Mm.
you don't see Mando taking the lead in his own personal development,
Yeah.
Mm.
which is it's lackluster because it's a journey that should start from within.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
one of those
but
things because you see in season one when he saves Grogu, or as we called him back then, the child, uh,
Mm-hmm.
he makes that active decision to go and save him. And everything he does in season one, it's him actively making decisions for whatever he wants to do. And then season two, I mean, he does have Quill who guides him because he's the mentor. But overall, like it's Mando making his decisions and dealing with those consequences. And season two, since he's been tasked with doing his quest by the armor, everything he does is in service of that, and he still hasn't like taken anything uh, responsibility for himself and saying like, no, I'm doing this because I want to do it, and I'm dealing with the consequences of these things. There's, I mean, we started seeing it like last episode when with Ahsoka and with the seeing stone at the Jedi Temple, and now with the taking off the mask. But it's all passive, at least to me. It's not like him actively doing those things because he's going out of his way to do it. It's more like a
Well,
byproduct of the
and
consequences.
and, and there's no real consequence to Mando going against the creed.
Yet,
Because yeah, I mean, as but on a personal basis, it didn't seem like, actually it was like you can see at the end, kind of like Din kind of like had this little smile going on, and like you can see Din getting used to not wearing the armor, but at the same time it was just like, oh, everybody that saw you without the armor is dead,
is dead.
or
except
they,
Mayfeld, yeah.
except Mayfield. But Mayfield kind of, it felt like that was like a very like bro-ish thing to say. Like, oh, I'll never say anything.
True,
Because he
but
had
Mayfeld is a survivor, so you don't know if push comes to shove, if something will happen from Mayfeld having known his face.
True,
no, but
true,
So
yes, but
I think Mayfield's different. Because a lot of people have been comparing Mayfield to DJ, and I think there's one fundamental difference between DJ and Mayfield is that DJ is strictly he's the Bendu of moral ambiguity. He's strictly in the middle, and DJ,
okay,
as far as we saw in Last Jedi, always did what served him.
I
And
don't
yeah,
think
Mayfield
DJ would have killed anybody.
exactly, and the fact that like Mayfield took that active decision to blow up the Rhydonium and the Imperial
yeah,
base kind of make diverges the path that DJ and
yeah,
Mayfield have. So that's why I don't think that's why I think he's going to be an ally moving forward and not going to betray him
okay.
anymore. Although talking about betrayal, I didn't want to get into it too much, but did you guys ever feel at all during this episode that Fennec and Boba might betray Mando?
I didn't actually.
Because I got
Where did you get this
like a,
sense? You
Yeah,
get a Spidey sense somewhere?
yeah, no,
yeah, I mean, I don't think they will, and I hope they don't actually, because if they don't, it'll just ruin the whole Boba arc for me. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there was like the one scene when it was after Mando had put on the stormtrooper tank trooper thing armor, and like Fennec is talking to Boba on the recording. It's like, oh, they're I don't know. It was like the way that conversation was they had it, and the fact that she did it away from Cara Dune. I was like, wait, are they kind of getting ready to double cross him and something? But But
Well, I didn't get a sense of that, and I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Although who knows? It might be interesting. Why, if you're,
why they
why
would
are you
betray?
helping? Yeah. Well, or if you're gonna end up betraying them, why are you just joining this right along?
yeah, this would be a very convoluted way to betray anyone.
Yeah.
And when they could have
Yeah.
just taken Grogu at the beginning of last episode.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
But anyway,
another. Oh, sorry.
huh?
Oh, you were gonna say something.
Oh, but okay. Anyway, so I think we're starting to run a bit long, so let's talk about the end. I thought it was fantastic the way that he delivered that speech, using the same words that Moff Gideon had used originally when referring to the child. Obviously, the change of pronouns as well, humanizing him. But the way he says it, Moff Gideon, when he says it's like it's a possession that he needs to go forward, and the way that Din frames it and how he says it, there's so much emotion in his voice. Like, this is my kid. You have no idea what you've gotten into. I am getting him back. So I thought that was actually very emotional and very forward of Mando to do. Like, not even trying to sneak up or anything, like sending that message first. It's like, I am not afraid of you. I'm warning you.
Yep. I've seen a lot of people online complaining about that because they're like, oh, he just ruined the element of surprise. And it's just like, well, technically, no, because he can still show up like whenever, but it's still like, yeah, that shows that his state of mind. It's like, it's not about being sneaky or something. It's about making a statement of where you stand in this issue. And again, I don't know if like some people that are watching this realizes or not, but this is all mythical and this is all fiction. This is not actual military strategies. Sometimes, sometimes the way you present things are to frame something else. So the way he did that is perfect for his character development and the framing of the conflict that's coming. It's not, this isn't a real CIA, FBI operation or anything.
Yeah.
There can be liberties with how we approach it. Just saying.
But I thought it was fantastic. You have no idea how much he means to me. I mean, it's just I thought it was.
And I like that. I like that the hologram didn't really move too much. It's just like him,
it's just very stoic. Yeah.
It was very. It kind of reminded me because usually you see it was only like the bust.
Yeah.
And usually we only seen it's like that's been reserved for like Palpatine or like some like the Sith.
Right.
Like it's only the bust up, so it felt that very like imposing, like. And you can see Moff Gideon's face. Like usually, you usually have like this very serious or determined. He was like, oh,
he was like, oh shit, I fucked up.
I better watch out. I still think it was a stupid move. If you're getting your kid, do not blow your cover. You need to stay silent.
Do not blow your cover.
But apart from that,
unless you're Liam Neeson, and apparently Mando too.
Apparently Mando is Liam Neeson. I mean, but
he's gonna go Liam Neeson.
No. I can see it. You have Mando going Liam Neeson. You have Boba on your side. You have
and Bo-Katan's gonna show up.
Bo-Katan,
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And so
I mean,
who knows? Mace Windu might show up, or
just one episode left, guys. Just one episode. So, what can we expect next episode?
I think it's almost. I think it's almost a guarantee that he'll get the child back. Really? Although they might go Empire Strikes Back on us and be like, oh, stick around. He didn't get it.
I want them to cross to see each other, but not
kind of miss each other.
Yeah. Or
maybe like he's gonna get him, but then Moff Gideon gets him and goes in an escape pod or something and goes some. I don't know. I don't want to get my expectations up.
Or it could be Moff Gideon and Mando are fighting, and then Baby Yoda has to force push Mando because there might be like an airlock, and then we get kind of like an Ezra Thrawn thing. Like, where are they?
I like that. I like that. And then he stays with Gideon because he had to.
That would be very interesting. I mean, it would be.
I like that.
It would be really hard waiting for a new season if it ends that way, though. But I mean, it's gonna be hard waiting for the new season regardless.
But it would be better, I feel, in terms of like developing the story for Mando forward, because then it's season three won't just be the same thing. Then it's like, oh,
Yeah, no.
Gideon's trying
Yeah.
to get the bait, and it's more like, okay, no, we have to keep trying to save him because there's more stakes now, because now we don't know where he is, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
we got blown up to the Purgles, took us to the unknown regions with Ezra. I don't know, but
Yeah.
to that point, I think it makes sense then that they're going to have not like a space battle, but I think they will join forces with Bo Katan. They're gonna like call her up, since she has like that Imperial cruiser that she
Yeah.
stole a couple episodes back. That he's gonna be like, "Hey, these are the coordinates for Moff Gideon. You want your dark saber? I'm gonna go
Yeah.
attack, and I
You
need
gotta
some
go get
backup.
it.
So
Yeah.
let's
And
go.
she had
Let's go
been
together."
Yeah,
And
and
then
she
Cara
was
Dune is gonna
actively
call the
like
New Republic.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna
Wow.
be probably showing up. I think it's just gonna be Mandos, and it'll be Bo Katan with Boba Fett. Oh shit! Like a double team there.
That would
I
be
don't know.
amazing. Yeah. I think that would be really, really cool. So
The question
before we
is,
say
will Mando give the spear to Bo-Katan to fight Moff Gideon with the dark saber,
or will
or
he fight
will
himself?
Mando fight him himself,
Yeah.
or both?
Or both, or both. Could be both.
Or
Like a
will
tag team kind of
Bo-Katan?
thing.
Yeah.
No, no, a tag team, or Bo-Katan starts fighting first, and then she's like struck down. She gets her arm cut off or something. Very Star Warsy, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and then Mando has to pick up the spear. And
Somebody
Or-
has
then,
to lose a limb.
Actually, we can see kind of like a Last Jedi red scene where you got Bo-Katan, Mando, Boba Fett, the three Mandos fighting against the Shadow Troopers, kind of like back to back.
Oh. Ugh.
don't do that to
There's
me.
so many ways
do
this
that to
could
me.
go. I'm really excited. So it's the last one. Ugh. Let's keep
Can I
our
say
hopes up.
one thing about unintended consequences? I kind of feel bad from this episode that even though it's kind of cool they blew up that dam, that's a lot of water that's gonna come down to that village. So I am sorry
Yeah.
for again this room.
Yeah.
The locals again suffered from the rescue of.
But I'm sure that based on what we saw in this episode, the humans live on the higher plane and the aliens live on the lower one, so the humans will be fine. It'll be the
Ugh.
aliens that are wiped out.
Terrible. That is just terrible. Ugh. Oh well. Well.
Star Wars, fix your set.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. And they were making a point of like bettering that earlier in the season, and they've kind of gone back on it. That's what's upsetting about it.
Yep, exactly.
Because they did really well with the Tusken Raiders and then Frog Lady and Frog Husband and all of that. And now they've kind
Yes.
of retraced their steps. So
Yep.
So-
Totally agree.
if anybody's listening, we were going on the right path, and now you kind of have to find it again.
Yep.
That's okay. We all stumble. We will get back up.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And we will definitely keep watching. So,
Yes.
Yes.
so
unless
do-
With
you
that.
have Gina Carano be the star of Rangers of the New Republic, then we will not be watching that show,
yeah, that will
Which is
be
a possibility.
problem.
which is a
It
possibility.
is. Yeah.
But with that, I think we should wrap
Yep.
up. I think Mo, I think you have some announcements, right, for some of your appearances going forward.
Yes. At some point during this week or next week, I will be appearing at the Katana Cast podcast, and next week after Mando's season 2 last episode, we will be wrapping it up with the Geeky Waffle live stream. So keep an eye out for that, and also keep an eye out for our regular scheduled episode, which will come out Wednesday, hopefully. So thank you again, everybody. May the force be with you.
And
Bye.
if you like how this shirt looks, this is our A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away in Japanese T-shirt, which you can find at our T Public store, along with some pretty cool, I'd like to think, designs. So make sure to check it out. The link is in our Twitter, and we'll have the link also down below on our YouTube description.
Like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow us on Twitter. Love you guys. May the force be with you.